we have an honor, and we thank you for your time that you are with us today.
The honor is mine.
Thank you. Would you be so kind and introduce yourself to Polish audience and tell us what are the biggest danger at the time for human race, and how we can protect ourselves, about your activities and new technologies which would enable us to protect ourselves as a human race, please.
The first thing is to have no fear. Fear is the weapon they use against us. The second thing is that there is a predator that we must recognize and understand very, very carefully before we take any action, because it sees us coming. So we must understand it is been here a long time. It has been outwitting us for a very long time, so we must be very careful in case we make the wrong step. But the most important thing is to be of higher spiritual consciousness, and do not have fear, do not respond to fear. Have a higher spiritual awareness and use the spiritual and awareness and talents we have as human beings. We have telepathy, we have 18 senses, but we're told we only have 6. We are wonderful beings, and we should celebrate that, and by using that we can defeat an enemy which is trying to pull us down to its level.
Are we not being a product of genetic manipulation already in Sumer, earlier in Atlantis time?
The important thing to understand is that all of us on this planet are extraterrestrials. We have been brought here by beings who for some reason needed to put us far, far out into the outer galaxy. We are many races, and we come from different places in the universes. We are related to the ancient peoples on the earth, the Sasquatch or Bigfoot, and their lifetime is originally about 900 years. They can easily go between up to 8 dimensions on this earth. That is part of their natural habitat. They were given very large hairy bodies so they could live in a very hostile environment a long, long time ago. They have seen humanity come, and they have seen humanity go. And right now they're seeing humanity go once more. But we've got an opportunity to learn from the ancients, our ancient forefathers, because they made the same mistakes as we are making now. So let us try to learn from our mistakes and to make this time work. We have a predator. We used to have very long lifetimes, so we have been changed. But who changed us and where they are now, those are different questions. But originally we had a lifetime of about 800 or 900 years. So if you look at the ancient texts, it'll say that so-and-so lived for 800 or 900 years. But now we only live for about maximum about 150 years, maximum. For most people it's only about half that. That is so that we can have a much more rapid soul cycle, so we can learn quickly, so we can go through our lifetime, learn, and then come back another time. What's happening is that the predator is accessing our genetics in such a way that many of us will never be able to come back, because we will not have the genetic code left to come back to. You must have, in this physical world, you must have a genetic code which will, when the pineal gland or the pituitary gland in the baby, when it sings, that's the point that is the difference between a simple baby and a living person in a baby. There is a very, very small opportunity for a particular energetic being to enter the physical body so that you become a living being. It's the difference between life and the difference between death in a body. What's happening is that they're introducing chemicals into our bodies so that those little signals, when they're transmitted by the baby, bring in the wrong entity, the wrong being. So eventually, and at the rate things are going, it will not be too long, a lot of the original beings that were seeded here will not ever be able to reincarnate. This has happened in the past, and it is happening again. It's up to us to recognize that, so that the very important, the Earth is like a spaceship, and it's like a spaceship which has been designed for many different races, for many different worlds to survive, because something has made those races run and come here. And it seems that what has happened in the last 80,000 years, the Predator has fired a seed, an alien seed, onto the Earth, which will disassemble our life and destroy all life here and reassemble its life. And that is called the Alien Black Goo. This is something which the information which has been given to me through witnesses who in 2010 began to come forward, and this is based on secrets released from the British in the Falklands War, where the Argentinians were working with blue greys in an island called Thule Island in the South Atlantic, very close to the Antarctic. And they recovered some of this oil, this sentient oil, and it seems they didn't know what it was, but I suspect they probably did. They brought it back to England, and they tried to weaponize this intelligent fluid. They tried to make super soldiers with it. And what they did was, they did probably the most important, most disastrous thing that any scientist should do. They took an unknown substance and introduced it to the human biological bioframe. This is absolutely something you must not do. So what they did was, this learnt about humans. It learnt about the complexity of human beings and the biology that is on the Earth, because this sentient fluid is fascinated by complicated patterns, and it was introduced to one of the most complicated patterns on the Earth, human beings. And as a result of that, the super soldiers that were created didn't want to go and kill people. They wanted to find out more. They wanted to learn. They wanted to understand. So instead of going in and killing a whole family of a particular culture in a war zone, it wanted to understand why are we doing this. So this experiment was stopped.
When it has to begin?
1980s, after the Falklands War.
Okay.
But the scientists who were working on, a large number of the scientists who worked on this black goo, were all killed. They were all murdered. They all killed themselves, about 42 of them, because they didn't know what they were dealing with. This was a failure on many, many levels. These young scientists were told, do this to this thing, and they killed themselves. So this black goo has the capacity to protect itself, and so it's intelligent, because it's a seed of life. It creates life. Our problem is, it creates life from another world at the expense of life on this world. So one way of dealing with this is, do not show any hostility whatsoever to this substance. What we need to do is try to understand what it is. And so we must not have fear. So by understanding and communicating with higher consciousness, we can teach this alien substance a path to a higher consciousness instead of a path to evil and destruction.
And where is the black goo to find in our daily life?
Well, this is some people say that the British simply washed it down the drain. It is crazy.
Oh my God.
This is crazy. So it is in the system. It is in our biosphere now. It has been released into our ecosystem. Some people are saying that the Gulf oil disaster about 5 or 6 years ago, released huge amounts of the black goo, but that was the terrestrial black goo. That's the stuff which is fundamental to us. Now, the side effect of this is, it could result in a similar situation as with Atlantis. That's to say, huge continents could simply disappear into the crust, and that may happen. But I don't want to talk fear, but no. We are risking doing what happened to our forefathers. The difference is that our forefathers managed to keep their information safe, so that we could later find out what it was, what they did.
So Super Soldier program was created in order to discover what Black Goo is? What was the main point?
The Super Soldier program was that part of the Super Soldier program, that trying to use this Black Goo to make super soldiers vastly intelligent and vastly enhanced human beings. This is part of the programmed generated life form program that the Germans were developing during the war, because they were working with this Black Goo.
The Second World War?
The Second World War. And this is where my research comes in. A gentleman called Barry King came to me with another girl called Lisa Williams. They knew about the development of programmed generated life forms here in Wiltshire and Berkshire. And this program went wrong. We've lost control of it. Here they were making beings, programmed beings, so they could work on the secret space program lunar bases. Because we, in our physical bodies, cannot leave this Earth. We cannot go to the moon in a tin can as they did with Apollo. That didn't happen. We would not survive, because it's very important that we live it's due to our biogenic field, our auric field. If you fly very high up, your auric field, your energy field, starts to deplete very badly. So if you go very, very high and leave the biogenic force field of the Earth, then your biology will fail. Unless, of course, you have some kind of vehicle or spacecraft which maintains that biogenic field. And an example of a biogenic field generator is Silbury Hill. Some scientists here in Wiltshire, there's a beautiful hill, it's like a cone or a pyramid, and some scientists have discovered it generates an electrical field, a biogenic field, so that the Stargate very close by at West Kennet Long Barrow, where beings can come through in that gate, this ancient gate, their biological integrity will be maintained in our reality, so they can physically be here and survive, as opposed to be here in some other kind of form.
I have heard even in London you have a Stargate.
There are gates in many places, and the elite
in Great Britain or all over the world.
Yes, they have been using Saddam Hussein. I understand had a Stargate in Iran, sorry, in Iraq, and that was one of the reasons why Saddam Hussein was taken out. So these gateways, these interdimensional gateways, which allow you to traverse between planets and between other worlds in the same location but in a different dimension, have been in use for a very, very long time. And we gained access to the control of that. A gentleman called John Irwin was part of a British team which worked within the British in the 1950s, and they gained 2 data banks which gave them access to the ancient knowledge of our forefathers, but also the Russians were involved, and other world powers were involved.
Was that together project or separate?
It was separate, because John Irwin's team, his team, which worked within the British military, killed a number of very senior Russian scientists in Cairo, and his team was trained in a very special way, which enabled them to secretly go into bases, take out or get whatever they needed and leave, and nobody knew it happened until he wrote his book about 5 or 6 years ago.
And the book is available only
It's called One Step Beyond the 16, One Step Beyond. And it's important that the one step beyond refers to the way he was trained. And he was trained by a very special, strange military officer, and he was taken one step beyond death. And he was able to transfer to different dimensions and realities which contained his DNA which he had. So he was able to go to different worlds in different time zones and see what has been going on. So he was able to see our ancestors, the Sasquatch. He was able to see the total destruction of Earth, all life. We are facing the destruction of all life on Earth if this other goo is able to reset life on this planet back to zero, and there will be nothing left here that we know of. So this is what we face. At the moment, there are individuals who are trying to make us into cyborgs, so we'll become cyber biological beings which will be able to exist in space,
And so
like the Borg.
would it be able also to counteract Black Goo, the cyborg society?
There are some,
What is the aim of creating such society?
because
Cyborg
we
society?
have, because the problem with the with this extraterrestrial black goo is that it is energetically lower than the high spiritual values that we have in our world. So when it creates or takes over humans, it affects their higher reasoning. So they are only they are very low spirituality. They are callous killers. They're very selfish. Some people would call that psychopathic. And if you study the way that the world is working at the moment, a lot of the controllers, a lot of the people who take control of corporations and countries and military things are all basically psychopathic killers. So they have no interest for the humanity or the well-being of others. They only have interests for themselves. So this is very, very bad for the future of life on Earth.
But we have a very strong DNA. And what information I've got recently is they are creating artificial genes to inject into our bodies, which may alter our DNA. What do you know about
Well,
this?
this is the problem, is that you've got a bunch of wacko scientists who do not believe in who do not recognize the higher spirituality of human beings, the 18 senses. Ingo Swann, the American,
I know penetration.
Yeah, Ingo Swann,
yes,
had 18 senses. We have there's a wonderful book from Russia, the ringing cedars, or the singing cedars.
Yes.
Of
Ringing cedars,
Anastasia,
yes,
ringing
Anastasia,
cedars.
yes, we know
where
this project.
This is what happened many years ago, where right across Europe, right across the civilized world, the re-civilized world, the world when we re-civilized and we came back from the brink, something has gone through all civilization and killed all the sentient, higher consciousness thinking individuals. And that started with women. They had to make sure that women could not be in charge. Any women who had higher spirituality or had any form of communication outside the control of the power elite at that time and today were killed. They were called witches. The same happened for all the shamans in the villages, all the wise men, all the people who held the ancient knowledge and the wisdom. They were all wiped out, and they all were taken control of by a dictatorial controlling system, which made them, if you did not obey us, we will kill you, we'll burn you, we'll torture you. So what happened was that our original high spirituality was shut down and attacked. And this is one of the things which happened in Ireland. Ireland was previously a very highly spiritual and wise culture, and a long time ago it was attacked to shut down that high spirituality and ensure that they all fought each other and had very low spiritual values. Now what's happening today is we have these wonderful new children, these Indygo children, there are different names for them. These higher consciousness children are being attacked and shut down all over the world in the education system.
But who's sending according to your information, as you met or invited Mary Rodwell here to Britain?
Yes.
And she writes about them.
Yes.
Who invited children from stars to come here? Or are they volunteers?
They know themselves. They know that
Yes.
we are extraterrestrial. I had a chat with one of these wonderful children, and she asked me, she's only it's only maybe I think 5 years old, and she asked me a question which she knew the answer of. And so what happened was she asked me, where do we come from? And she was a very shy girl, lovely little blonde girl, lovely little girl. And I could see in her eyes that she knew already where we come from. So these new children knew that we come from the stars. So the thing is that we must protect this world with higher consciousness and higher spirituality and not react with negative aggression. Because that's one of the things which Sarah Adams, when she was introduced to the Black Goo, she went back to source. She went back to the source of creation. Whatever you want to call it, you might want to call that God, or you want to call it some other name. It is the source of the divine creation of life. And by respecting that, you can show to, remember the Black Goo is a seed. It's what creates life. So if you respect it and we respect each other, then it's a much better way of having accommodation. There are people who say that if you have certain chemicals, you can destroy the Black Goo. You may chemically be able to destroy the goo. It will fall apart, and it will. But you will not destroy the life force that created that from wherever it comes from. And that is why we've got to be very careful with what we're dealing with. We mustn't throw the baby out with the bathwater, as we say in English.
Very good. It's very highly interesting information, very important that people know about it. What about technologies? What technology the governments are using against us nowadays that we are not able to protect ourselves against?
Well, this is the problem, is that the Black Goo let's not blame the Black Goo. Whatever is happening, very, very negative psychopathic people are taking control of all kinds of levels of government, in corporations. One of the issues which we have to think about is our ancient past. And that is to say the wars which happened between various extraterrestrial races, which go way back into interplanetary history. And there's evidence where it seems that Mars and some of the other planets were inhabited, and there has been some kind of terrible disaster has happened. So there is some people are saying that there has been ancient wars between different races of extraterrestrial, and that war went on for a very, very long time, until at some point somebody was able to come up with some kind of virus which caused a lot of those individuals to finally die. This is where we have another angle on the predator. That's to say, there is a predatory enemy on Earth which is hiding itself away from us. And that is where we have these beings where they require human energetic life force. And this is where we have this terrible thing of child abuse, the ritual killings of these babies and children. A great deal of these are used in these rituals, so that the bioenergetic life force of those babies sustains these other creatures. It's been nicknamed the vampire virus.
From Mars.
It's a nickname, and like all nicknames, it's not correct, but it gives you a general idea of what these creatures are needing. They need the life force in our children.
And do you know, I have recently read that Idaho from in the United States university, scientists claim that on the earth there are several thousands of vampires living,
Yeah.
and they require daily supply of fresh blood,
Yes.
the best from the children.
Yes.
So they admit obviously their existence now,
Yes.
and trying to justify the supply of the blood.
Yes, this is very important. This is very important because we must not get all fearful and say, let's kill all these people. Because there could be a very important reason why they were infected with this virus, and it could be a very important reason why it's worthwhile discussing intelligently why they need to do this. Now, there's some people are saying that when a baby or when a person starts to heal, they access an energy in the universe which then helps rebuild their biophysical structure, their bioenergetic field. What they're doing is, by causing such terrible pain and harm to the children, that they open up that source of healing energy, and it's the healing energy that these creatures take so they can sustain their bodies. Otherwise their bodies will atrophy, wither and die. So in order for them to sustain themselves, they must have a supply of human babies, human children even, and they must be ritually brought to a certain state by a very important ritual. And this is where, first of all, you have to understand what's there first. You've got to know what's involved. Some people say that you can use very, very strong magnets, and these are the kind of magnets which are in hard drives. You can get these very, very powerful magnets. If you break open a hard drive, a computer hard drive, the very slim magnet that goes inside the motor of a hard drive is very powerful. You can use those. That does have an effect, but I mean, this is very crude to do it that way. To be honest, we simply do not have enough information. Now, because the medical professionals don't want to accept these things exist, because if they accept that they exist, it means who put them there, it's going to be in the public domain, and then we're talking about aliens, then we're talking about this kind of thing, and people have taken over the government. It's a problem which is too hot to handle. So ultimately it's up to individuals and to people to come together through the relevant organizations, discuss this. There's various organizations in Europe. My dear former friend and colleague, Dr. Rowney Kilder, who died very recently,
We know her.
was a very, very dear friend, and it was very tragic that she died. But in her work, she discovered there is no death. So let's not be sad about Dr. Kilder. Let's celebrate Dr. Kilder's work and her life, and go forth and understand these things. The important thing is, find out what you're dealing with first, and then understand it before you do anything, because you could take something which is actually positive and beneficial, and then we don't know who the hell put it there, because you could take the thing out and maybe whoever put it there will come back. So we need to understand who's putting them there and why. So there are many things which are very complicated in this, and the only way to really deal with it is to work the problem, work out what is happening, what the properties of these things are, recognize that we do have a problem, and then bring this to a higher public level of understanding, and do so without being scared, and do so without fear. And because the fear, once you get afraid, your antenna comes in. You start. That's what they want us to be. There's an awful lot of things which are being produced in the public domain. Oh, the black goo. Oh, it's going to kill us. Oh, terrible things. Oh, we're all going to die. Aliens are taking over. Forget that. Human beings and nature have got wonderful ways of getting around problems. But let's just see what's happening, understand it, and then start taking action.
But last question you will allow, I hope, Miles. Yesterday on, I don't know what channel was that, TV channel here in London.
Channel 4?
There was a program on UFOs.
Yes.
And I was so astonished. It is so shown, so like it was. I mean, all these triangles or unidentified objects, what they are trying to do, to imprint people that these things are existing. What about stage alienation, invasion?
Well, this is something which we discussed at my conference, and this is also something that Dr. Stephen Greer talked about. This is 15 years ago, a fake alien invasion. This is something. This is something which Carol Rosen, who was with the great Werner von Braun,
secretary.
Yes.
In his last.
Where the agenda of the Illuminati is to have all these terrible wars, the 9/11 type of thing, wars all over the place, and then a fake alien invasion. Now, the thing is, the kind of technology that they were making in the laboratories here are like aliens. They're like greys. They're there to present to people so they think they're being invaded by aliens. And this is called Project Bluebeam. Project Bluebeam, there's been an awful lot of information put out about Project Bluebeam, which is not correct. It's about a holographic type technology which allows the actual atoms in the atmosphere to be excited and to glow and to produce pictures, right? It's also the ability of you to actually touch this hologram. Now, it isn't a hologram. This is the important thing. I'm just using that word as a form of description, because holographic technology does not behave like this. It allows you to touch what you think is an alien in front of you. It feels you touching you and reacts. So in every respect, whatever you're looking at is a living thing. You touch it, it moves, it behaves, and then it can have electrical properties which can shut down your brain, so you become paralyzed. So in every respect, it's like an alien. It isn't an alien, it's a projection. But also the use of biological in vitro fertilization was designed to create strange looking humans which would look like aliens. But they could be controlled. They could be controlled like a hive mind. And they were called programmed generated life forms. Because there's no point creating a Frankenstein if you can't control it, if there's no off switch. Okay? So the whole point is they're called programmed generated life forms. And it seems that we've been creating these things here in England since the war at least, and they have been used in off-planet and off-world scenarios in part of the secret space program, because the level of technology that that started to go black or in the 1950s gave you Star Trek. The information that they got from our ancient forefathers gave you the interdimensional Star Trek, faster than light, super travel technology. And so there's a lot of stuff. My information is that every major country has their own flying saucers. Everybody has it, right? And it's all flying around up there, and it's in slightly different dimensions. There's a war going on. And right now, as far as the world is concerned, we have lost control of our own destiny. What we need to do as ordinary people is educate ourselves, have no fear, and take positive action to protect ourselves and our lives in this beautiful world. And let's keep it that way, because at the moment we are headed straight for a cyborg future controlled by a bunch of homicidal maniacs. And that is not the kind of world that I would like to live in.
This is a pessimistic ending, but I have an optimistic one. Maybe on a collective level we are disconnected, but as individuals we are waking up, and in a big amount.
Yes.
So this is the future, the children from the stars.
Yes.
The children, thank you so much.
The children of today hold the key to our future. So let those children grow up and live a wonderful life and let's bring humanity and life
To
to a
blossom.
wonderful, wonderful world.
Exactly. And we can do together.